Fitz, we were just talking about early this morning getting a surprise tweet. Not the way we were expecting to start the day.
7:55, got the kids out the door, was waiting to get the wife out the door, and all of a sudden James Franklin comes calling. So that was fun. It's not a problem. Like, we get surprise commitments all the time. This one was not. I'll say problem. He was supposed to announce May 1st. Like, we're prepping for that. We've got a week to do that. We've got time to get our picks in if we need to do that. Wisconsin just offered on Friday. You think you got a little bit of a gap there. So, he makes some calls and he apparently wanted to get it done. Visited Oklahoma this weekend. I haven't said the kid's name yet. Garrett Sexton. If you're just joining us and you missed everything else this morning, committed to Penn State early this morning. Went to Oklahoma this weekend. As I said, got the Wisconsin offer at the end of last week. So a commitment video that we were expecting to do in a week, we get to do it today instead. So good times all around. Got our Monday morning started with a jolt and some coffee, and still working off of the ramifications of both.
We will get into the disparity you see here on the YouTube channel, the industry ranking versus the On3 ranking, in just a little bit. But Ryan, I'm coming to you because you just moments ago put up a story, bluewhiteillustrated.com. For insiders, they can read that. If you're not an insider, by the way, join us. You get all the inside information, all the conversations, all the comments for $29.99 from now to the start of football season. So, Ryan, what was your conversation and what was everything like talking to Garrett today? Got you muted, bud.
Oh, I'm muted.
No, that was my bad. That was my bad. That one was on me.
I'm all over the place this morning. Just so you guys know, I am all over the place this morning. So, Sean, you might have to carry me a little bit here.
Can't wait.
Anyway, this is a long time coming. And by a long time, I mean, like, what, a couple weeks, 3 weeks. Obviously visits March 30th. And really that visit just kind of set the tone. He had that Oklahoma visit this weekend, but a lot of people felt that this was going to be a Penn State commitment at some point, whether that's today or May 1 or whenever it may be. But just Penn State set the tone here. Great relationship with the coaching staff. I think that was a big part of it. He opened up a little bit about the players that he got to meet and kind of how they impacted some things. And now he's getting to know the committed guys as well. So this is a player for Phil Troutwine who really rocketed up the board. I mean, this isn't, we look at offers that are a little more recent compared to the guys who were offered last summer into the fall. And you always think, these are the plan B guy, right? Like, that's kind of the phrase that fans use, just because they weren't one of the first offers. That's not the case here at all. This was a player who was playing quarterback over a year ago as a sophomore. He plays offensive tackle for the first time this year. And really, once the film kind of got out there and schools really took notice in January, he's rocketed up a lot of schools' boards. So Penn State beats out Iowa. They beat out Minnesota. They beat out Oklahoma. Of course, he did get that late Wisconsin offer. Was surprised Wisconsin took the time that they did, honestly. I don't know if it was the size or they wanted to see him in camp. Those are kind of the two things that, we've heard through the grapevine and hey, I mean, schools do that all the time. They want to gather as much information as possible. But look, he's verified at 6'6", right? I mean, has a reach that's probably longer than my body. He's huge. So
he's huge.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just, when you look at the frame and you look at the information we had, there's no real concerns about whether he can add on weight, right? He's at like 245-ish right now. And he can easily get up to 280 or so. So was surprised it took Wisconsin as long as it did, but that's Penn State's gain. Not that Wisconsin would have won out if they offered earlier. I think Penn State certainly, just won out from a relationship perspective here. But Phil Troutwine's incredibly happy to have him. And hey, by the way, from an 0-3 perspective, he's now the third-rated player in this class.
This video is sponsored by My Perfect Franchise. Are you ready to leave the corporate rat race for the American dream? Are you a displaced corporate executive? Maybe you're looking for a side hustle while working at your current job, or maybe you want to build wealth and leave a legacy. Check out My Perfect Franchise. Andy Ludicky is a franchise consultant with extensive experience placing people like you in the perfect franchise to manage. His services are 100% free, and he's here to help if you have any questions about business ownership. Check out the Blue White Illustrated message board or email Andy at myperfectfranchise.net to get started today. Yeah, this is a big move. I'm going to throw this up here for just a second again because I do want to get back to this. The disparity between the industry ranking and the on-3 ranking, where he's 115 and the 13th offensive tackle in the nation versus 27 and 427 in the industry ranking. That is just there needs to be an update by everyone else, right? Fitz, this is not necessarily that there's as much of a split opinion as there is. His film is new, his position is new, and this is going to take a little bit of time to catch up. This should even out, I imagine, because watching his film, I'm in love. You give me length and you give me athleticism like that at the left tackle position, and that to me screams a guy who I think is properly rated by On3. Or do you agree with that, or is there some sort of disconnect about Sexton?
No, I think it's still early pre-camp season. Of course, you probably when you're rating guys, you rate from the south to the north because those guys can do those camps in February down in Miami, and then you can't do that in Green Bay or Madison or wherever in Wisconsin in February. So I think that it will generally rise. The industry ranking will generally rise. I talked to Charles Power a little bit about this. I mean, it's a complete projection. He's 240 pounds. Like he's 60 pounds away from where he's going to be. And that's perfectly fine. Like you don't need to bring in a guy that's 315 pounds as a high school senior. I can't wait to see the projection here because like I'm a fan of the guys that you build up rather than the guys that you have to tear down and then build back up.
Yeah.
But there's no prototype here. You can have success with a guy that's 300 pounds when he's a senior. You can have success with one of those like typical MAC guys. They take it 230 pounds, they turn him into an offensive tackle. So there's no like generic formula to produce a high level offensive tackle, but you look at the feet, you look at the athleticism. He's got both of those guys, very active blocking. Also, a guy that really doesn't look like he knows what he's doing yet, and I say that in an endearing way because he's going to continue to learn how to set, how to block, all that kind of stuff, and that's what's exciting when you talk about projecting this guy in the long run. So I'm really interested to see the next couple of years of his transformation. As Ryan wrote a year ago, he's about 185 pounds. So it's kind of the same jump that I made from 185 to 220 or 240. I'm sure he looks exactly the same. And he probably did it slightly different, but here's where he's at right now. So I'm excited to see all these little boxes that we've checked with Garrett Sexton because he looks like he has he looks like he could be a top level offensive tackle. Again, if you're looking for a finished product, this is not it. If you're looking for a guy to come in and play right away, this is not it. He's going to take a year or two, continue to develop, and it's about how he keeps that athleticism and he keeps those feet playing at 290, 300 pounds.
I agree with you, and I like those late developing athletes because I think it does give them the opportunity, gives them the chance to really solidify some of those movement skills and then add the weight on in a more, I don't know if you call it natural way to be 300 pounds, but more natural than having all that weight early on in your life. The other thing that I watched a little bit of his high school film today, and I think it's a pretty good offensive system. That he, despite not knowing how to play the position specifically, he does seem to be aware of what he's supposed to be doing. And I like that because that gives him an advantage of, it looks like it's a pretty good offensive system from a run perspective of they teach things properly. He's able to get into certain specific blocking schemes and execute them without great technique and with still great violence and length. Ryan, anything else that stands out to you about how this relationship developed with Phil Trautwein and how this kind of came together so quickly, given Penn State doesn't normally get these guys in terms of winning over Iowa, Minnesota, and I know Wisconsin is late into the game, but this has got to be a pretty good feeling for Penn State fans knowing Midwest offensive line schools didn't win to get this up-and-coming athlete that both Fitz and I seem to be super high on.
Yeah, just consistency, man. That's really, and that's the name of the game for so many Penn State commitments. Not that other schools weren't consistent on him, but Penn State is every other day, talking to these guys, and I think that was a big part of it. And then it's not just Trautwein, it's Franklin, it's really the entire offensive staff. I mean, they did a group call last night with pretty much I don't know every single person that was on it, but it wasn't just Troutwine and Franklin. You know, it's a group recruitment, and that's how it always is at Penn State. So I think that was just a big part of it. And then, you know, when you get on campus, you set the bar incredibly high. I'll also add the business school perspective. He wants to major in business, and as we've seen so many times with engineering majors, with business majors, you know, schools that Penn State really excels at, or majors that Penn State really excels at. That always plays a big role as well. So I also just realized I had my sunglasses on my head. So yeah,
you wear your sunglasses
it's been one of those
at night
mornings.
and in the morning.
Just when I'm taking my kids to daycare and then running downstairs to type up another story. Yeah, I'm going for the Greg Pickle look. Yes, it has been.
We got Steven here in the chat. He says, another very fine Monday morning, and Wisconsin. I may need to let it rest a few days before I talk to my nephew and niece, both UW grads. Wow, so Steven's got all kinds of Big Ten connections. He's a regular here and apparently well-connected in Wisconsin, you know, as the great state of Wisconsin, not Washington, Wisconsin. We got a couple more here. Here, Tom says, should be worried these Wisconsin guys are flip problems down the line if Wisconsin gets rolling this season. Fitz, new coaching staff at Wisconsin, is that a fair concern that maybe once they get things up and running and that they have present more of a threat to flip some of these guys?
I mean, you got to keep in the back of your mind. I mean, that's kind of how things work with new staffs. I will say, puzzling introduction to Wisconsin for the Fickle staff, and I'm not going to speak for them because they have the reasons, I'm sure. We're not really pursuing Donovan Harbor. They just offered Sexton on Friday, and I mean, it's not like they don't know about him. They've got a commitment from his teammate that is also in the 2024 class, and then mixed reviews on whether or not they're going after Corey Smith, who's going to announce on Friday, and Penn State leads on the on 3 RPM. So very, I don't want to say question. Like I said, I don't want to speak for them because if the situation was flipped, I'm sure we'd have more information on why they're not going after these guys. But just it runs counterintuitive to what we've seen with new staff. Sometimes when a new staff comes in, you want to endear yourself to the in-state schools. You want to flesh out those relationships and things like that. So maybe you expand your borders a little bit in terms of what you do to take a prospect from the state. And it seems like they've gone in the opposite direction, which is, you know, it's different. It's a different approach. So we will see if that works or not. And maybe it's just a situation where they've done their evaluations. They are hardlining their evaluations and they're fine with, you know, not taking those guys. It's completely plausible.
Subscribe to BlueWhiteIllustrated.com for more information on Garrett Sexton and his commitment to the Nittany Lions. Of course, we'll have a T. Frank's film room. There's a backlog of those going on right now because of this recruiting run, but we will be getting to all of them. So make sure you subscribe. And of course, if you're watching this, please like the video.